Hi guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to react on MSNBC doing fake news on previous midterms and downplaying Republican wins. This I was actually going to do much earlier. I was going to do it like a week ago, but then something happened. The war in Ukraine started. So I have saved it for today to criticize Chuck Todd and correct him and MSNBC for all the lies that they are spewing. Now, when they talk about these midterms, they do it, well, in a way where they grade them from good to bad for the incumbent. The problem comes to when you talk about results for the Republican Party. One of these is, of course, in 2002, which was the first midterm under Bush, when Republicans actually picked up 2 Senate seats and there was a congressional preference on R+6. Check Wikipedia, 50%, 5, R+5, 50% to 45%, and they say it was R+1, and that Republicans only picked up 1 Senate seat. So that's clearly a very obvious lie. Then you have 2010, where the congressional preference was like either 7 or 8, I think 7 in favor of the Republicans, and here they don't lie about the Senate seats or the House seats. They don't mention that there was a special election in Massachusetts which would make it 7. And then you have 2018, which is the most disturbing because they actually are honest about the congressional preference. Yes, they favor the Democrats, but still they say Republicans only picked up 1 Senate seat, which is another lie by MSNBC and Chuck Todd. They picked up 4, but that was a net gain of 2 because of the 2 Democratic pickups. So +2, and yes, -40. But since they are not to be trusted when it comes to talking about historical midterms, I thought it was time for someone who can be trusted to do it instead. And that's what I'm going to do today. Yes, today I'm going to rate the 7 midterms we've had for the last 30 years and talk about them. Who was tough for the incumbent party, who was not. And on 7th place we of course have 2002, where Republicans picked up 2 Senate seats instead of 1, which MSNBC would say, and the Democrats actually picked up governorships. They flipped a lot, but since Republicans also flipped some, like in the South, for example in Georgia, they made up for that, but the Democrats really took over the entire Rust Belt when it comes to governorships in this election. But it was very, very mild for Bush. I mean, gained seats in both chambers, so it's quite okay. And then you have 1998 on number 6. Senate remained unchanged, with the Republicans maintaining a majority of 55 seats. Governorships was actually also unchanged, but in the House the Democrats picked up 5 seats. Now, I have not looked into congressional preference, and I thought that wasn't too relevant, but I will mention it if I remember it. In 2018, of course, the Democrats had a good year, but they still lost seats in the Senate. The Republicans had a net gain of 2, while the Democrats actually gained 41 House seats, and it might be like independent or a libertarian or something in there that makes it complicated, or a vacancy. I think Republicans only lost 40. And then, of course, the governorships. Democrats famously picked up 7 governorships, many of which will flip back in this year's midterms, like Kansas and Wisconsin. And then you have, in 4th place, 2014, Republicans picked up on all fronts 9 Senate seats, which I think is actually the best for any of these midterms, the best since 1980 actually. And they picked up 13 House seats. They were already very maxed out in the House, but they still made some extra gains, some places like Nevada, I think New Hampshire, and of course they picked up even more governorships, places like Illinois, Maryland, Massachusetts. It was a quite insane midterm for the GOP. And then we come to the top 3. In 3rd place we have 2006. Of course, one of the big races that year was between Rick Santorum and Bob Casey in Pennsylvania, where Bob Casey won. He flipped that Senate seat, and the Democrats combined flipped 6 Senate seats, which made them take over the chamber by the narrowest of margins, because they actually had 45 Senate seats now, then after which they had 51. So Dick Cheney would actually break the tie in favor of Republicans, so they just barely flipped the Senate, and a lot of House seats and a few governorships as well. Going to second place, we have 1994, Contract with America, the Republican Revolution. The GOP picked up a lot of governorships. Okay, this was the election of George W. Bush to the Texas governorship. And I think you have people like Gary Johnson in New Mexico, Tom Ridge in Pennsylvania, Bill Weld getting re-elected in Massachusetts, and George Pataki defeating the incumbent in New York. Of course, also picking up 54 House seats, 5 in Washington state alone, and 8 seats in the Senate, including 2 seats in Tennessee. So, a very good year for the GOP indeed. But now comes the one you have all been waiting for. The number one, and I know you were all expecting this, it's of course 2010, with the legendary Mark Kirk winning his big win in Illinois against the Obama hand-picked candidate. Republicans picked up 6 seats, 7 if you count Massachusetts special election earlier that year, which I guess you don't. 63 House seats, which I mean it's more than, 1946, 48? Somewhere back then. And of course 6 governorships. They actually were not in too bad shape when it comes to governorships before, and they also lost in places like California, where Arnold could not run for another term. They lost in Minnesota, where they had an incumbent who could not run again. But otherwise 2010 was a slaughter. The generic battle was either R+7 or R+8. It was insane. The best year anyone ever had, and the only reason they did not take the Senate was because of how unfavorable the Senate map was. They had already picked up a lot of seats in Senate Class 3 back in 2004. They picked up like 6 seats, a net gain of 4, including most of the American South. So it wasn't much more to gain in the Senate, but they absolutely crushed it in the US House. But anyway, that was me just necessarily correcting some of the mainstream media lies. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like this video, please subscribe. Don't subscribe to MSNBC, unsubscribe from them actually. And unsubscribe from CNN also while you're at it. But thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.